You know what? I kind of want to play something else. Alright, let's see what we've got. Dr. Mario 64 released April 8th, 2001 on the Nintendo 64 in North America only being released later in China and Japan before finally getting a PAL version this year, or last year actually, for the Nintendo Switch Online. Quite an odd release, but in my opinion probably the best Dr. Mario game to date. You see, the thing with this game, it was another one that I wanted when it was new. Kind of. Well, it was one I saw on YouTube back in the day, and I never had a Nintendo 64. So this, along with Yoshi's Story, were two games that I was eager to try out. I didn't get it until, I don't know, 2016 or something. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, having played Dr. Mario Online for Nintendo Wii way back in 2008 when it was brand new. I had experience with the series, but I always loved this one more, despite not even owning it for a very long time. So, without further ado, I guess we're gonna go take a look at it, see how the game plays, and what it's all about. And it's such a unique release too. I gotta reiterate that. It wasn't until 2003, like 2 years after. North America exclusive. Yeah, you stupid piece of shit. There you go.
But before we begin, something of note. Most of you know Dr. Mario is a two-player game. I never bothered getting a second player, so this will be one-player focused. But anyways, here we are, Dr. Mario 64. The first thing you'll notice is, despite this being a Nintendo 64 title, there is no 3D models in sight. And I wish more games took advantage of this. The system really handles 2D well, and it tends to age much better than 3D. Another thing to comment on is that little option right there. Yes, this being a Nintendo 64 game, it has 4 players, unlike every other Dr. Mario in existence, to the best of my knowledge. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. As previously mentioned, this will be a single player and pseudo 2-player review, so first, we'll look at the 1-player option. The most recognizable Dr. Mario Classic game mode is, well, it's Classic. Here, it's no different to any other version outside from the much cleaner interface and the addition of 2 more songs. You might have also noticed I had to select a profile previously because this game has EEPROM saving, so you can save to your profile and have different stats for each player. Now of course, this is still just Dr. Mario, so don't be expecting the gameplay to change from anything more than its predecessors or even its descendants for that matter. It's also an idea from the late 80s, so if you don't like simple puzzle games, then you're out of luck. Either way, here we are, the familiar Dr. Mario gameplay. The puzzle game where your goal is to clear all the viruses by making rows of 4 against them of the same color, either vertically or horizontally. Yeah, that about sums it up. Classic is essentially just the marathon mode, but with levels that get progressively harder and faster. You can pick how many viruses spawn, what speed the capsules drop at, and what music you want to jam out to. This is purely just a test of your skill, and for the high score of course. The difficulty is very adjustable. It can be super easy, or it can be a living hell, no matter how good you get at it. One last thing about Classic is that they kept the unlockable difficulties past 20, so that's nice if you're a masochist. Moving on, while saving 4-player and story mode for last, let's look at Versus. Here's the hefty character select screen, which is new for Dr. Mario. And as for those of you who have a keen eye can see, this is a roster of Wario Land characters. Yes, despite this being a Dr. Mario game, it's actually more Wario-centric.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and 21-year-old spoiler alert for the 2 unlockable hidden final bosses.
And the final boss, I guess.
Just in case you didn't want to know. But anyways, Versus mode is where you put your skills with a Z up against someone to see how much you can bury them in drugs. Or you can see who can clean up the bottle quicker. But that's boring. Like most puzzle multiplayer games, you can send garbage to a player/CPU by getting combos. And you can pick from 1 to 3 wins required in the options menu. Everything else can be picked the same as Classic. Also, this was the first Dr. Mario to have a hold button in the menu to set everyone's settings the same. I'll quickly mush together the next few modes, but before we go into that, I'd also like to let you know that when playing against the CPU, their difficulty is based on where the character themselves are in story mode, or if they're a protagonist and you play as them. Next, we'll cover Flash, Marathon, and Score Attack. These are altered versions of the 2 already existing modes. Flash maintains the structure of verses, but your goal this time around is to kill the flashing viruses before your opponent does. Not too much different here. Now I know I said Classic was the marathon mode, but I meant that in the same vein in comparison to Tetris, because there actually is a marathon mode here. In this one, the viruses keep rising, and it's up to you to see how long you last. Combos also help freeze the rising timer for a short bit. Last, Score Attack is a mode where you're simply given a timer to see how well you do in the allocated time. Also, all three of these modes have a 3-tier difficulty setting, rather than the 0 to 20 plus option you've come accustomed to. So here we are, Story Mode, probably the most in-depth game mode here. There are two separate campaigns here, Mario's Story and Wario's Story. These are two sides of the same story, however, with no real difference other than you play as one or the other, and you fight a different secret final boss. Now I'll quickly go over the main story on Mario's side because I definitely didn't forget to record Wario's side or something, and I'm not too lazy to go back and hook everything up again. So with that out of the way, let's look at Story Mode. Would you look at that? It's flu season, and Dr. Mario's out doing his thing. But oh no! Our lovable greedy fat-ass Wario is hiding quite obviously right behind him. Apparently he's in the back alley business because he believes he can get rich off of Mario's Mega Vitamins. Not only that, but Mad Science-Team, an enemy from Wario Land 3, introduces his incentive for also wanting to get them, as he's being commanded by an unknown ominous figure named ? I guess Mario went home to rest, but then he immediately leaves again, whilst leaving the Mega Vitamins at home. So, without hesitation, Mad Science-Team commits breaking and entering, as well as theft. Wario spots him and chases after him. Mario eventually gets back in the nick of time, but only to see Wario and assumes he stole the Mega Vitamins as he can find them. So, he pharmaceutically beats him up. Mario doesn't find them on him either, and they both see the real thief, as he's an idiot who thinks walking circles around the crime scene is a good idea. I don't know, I guess he needs to get his steps in or something. You encounter Spearhead during the chase, which Wario barrels through, but Mario isn't so lucky. You also meet Weber, who wants to eat you, both of which get medically schooled. They snitch on you to the question mark guy, and he reveals to the player that there's a Hammerbot waiting for us. As the chase continues, you end up disturbing a lot of citizens. On Wario's side, these actually differ from who Mario fights, which I just noticed now. It's been a while, so cut me some slack. Anyways, you kill all three of them and you move on to a deep, dark forest where you finally meet Hammerbot. This is our introduction to the 4-player Dr. Mario battles. I won't go too in-depth just yet, however, so he's a total pushover. Enough said. Afterwards, Mad Science-Team makes one final break for the castle. Wario ends up grabbing and beats the shit out of him, but not before Mr. Wario Land 3 final boss Rudy gets a hold of him. After a kick-ass Nintendo final boss theme for Dr. Mario on the Nintendo 64 in 2001 of all things, and an annoying long drawn-out battle, you beat the game. Thing is though, he only wanted the Mega Vitamins because he was sick. Now, assuming this has to be prescribed to you, and unlike Wario who was fine, he could have totally just met with Dr. Mario and have gotten it that way. Guess he didn't want to pay for it, but it's awfully stingy of you, Mr. I Sit on a Throne. Whatever. Now, I won't go over the secret final bosses as I want to leave something for you guys to do if you consider playing this. But I will quickly go over a few other secrets. Cue Super Fast Lightning Round. First up is the super hard difficulty, which you're told how to activate after beating hard without losing once. You press Z while hovering over the hard option in the story mode menu. Next is alternate the computer difficulty while selecting a CPU to go up against. Hold L and press A to make them 1 star harder and B to make them 2 stars harder. These are respected to their difficulties in hard and super hard. Last, in order to actually get to the hidden final bosses, you have to go through normal or higher without losing as well. And the lightning round. Well, the last thing we have to look at is multiplayer. Now, multiplayer has 3 other modes structured around it: 4-player versus, team battle, and flash. Now, flash is the simplest to describe because it's just flash, but with 4 people trying to clear the flashing viruses instead of 2. But the next 2 modes have a lot more depth, and they're way more fun. In the multiplayer menu, you have a choice of 1, 2, 3, and 4 players. The absent players will be replaced with CPUs. First up, multiplayer versus pits you against 3 others, and your goal is to drown them or clear your viruses first. This is still versus after all. The main difference is that when getting a combo, whatever color you match is coded to one of the 3 opponents. You also have less of a viewing angle, so that puts people with crappy eyesight at a disadvantage. Since there's 4 people though, each fighting for themselves, you can imagine how hectic it gets with combos constantly being dealt out. This mode is super fun with a group of friends and is a must try. And to end this review off, we have Team Battle. Team Battle has 2v2 action as 2 groups of 2 go against each other in an attempt to dethrone the other pair. The goal remains consistent, but the combo mechanics are changed here. They're still color-coded to the other 2 players, but also towards your teammate. However, instead of attacking your own team, it builds up into a stock which will get unloaded the next time you attack the other team. Pretty cool. Final verdict. I'd give this a competent 8 out of 10. For what it's trying to do as an end-of-life Nintendo 64 title, it succeeded in pretty well. And I see it as one of, if not the best Dr. Mario experiences to date.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed my cover of Dr. Mario 64. It's sort of a running theme I have where I just pick random games that you probably never heard of or are very unfamiliar with that I find favorable. And I just cover them because, you know, it's interesting, it's unique, and quite frankly, I enjoy talking about things that nobody else cares about. So, you know, I find my little niche community through that then, I guess. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. This is a fun time, and I definitely recommend picking it up. I don't know the prices of them anymore. I got mine a while back, and I paid like, what, $40? $30? $20? Something not that much. I hope it's not that much. Even if it's a bit much nowadays, I have no clue, because that happened before I were Twisted. If it is a bit much, then there's always the Nintendo Switch Online, and realistically, there's always pirating. But, I don't endorse that, so, please don't murder me, Nintendo. Whatever. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Those of you with a keen ear might have noticed that I sounded a bit nasally or congested halfway through the recordings. It's because I actually got sick part of the way through this. And I also went on vacation halfway through. A lot of things happened. But I finally managed to finish the video after 4 weeks. So there's that. I hope you enjoyed. Again. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Again.